Hi, and welcome back for our final video. This is the fifth video, and this is based on the chapter that is called Sent, which corresponds to the belief that Jesus is our coming King. Now, you might be wondering, if Jesus is our coming King, what's it have to do with us being sent? If he's coming here, what are we being sent to do? Where are we being sent to? How did you land on sent? And Matthew 24:14 is why I landed on sent. Matthew 24:14 says, "This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come." Matthew 24 is a well-known chapter where Jesus is explaining kind of the circumstances and signs prior to his return. We do expect Jesus to return literally, physically, visibly, and many people would say premillennially, but I'm not going to get into that right now. But Jesus is going to return. How does that relate to us? Like, what's that mean for us? Matthew 24:14 says that prior to his return, the gospel of the kingdom will be preached to the whole world as a testimony to all nations. That's where we come in. If Jesus is the coming king, then we are sent to preach that gospel to all nations as a testimony. We read in Revelation 7 that when John looked over the multitudes worshiping, that he saw representatives from every nationality and ethnicity and language group. And in order for that to happen, the gospel has to go everywhere. The gospel has to go to every people group on earth. And so if Jesus is the coming king, that means that our response to him and our experience there is to be sent. And the word we often use for this, well, we use evangelism. We often use evangelism when we're thinking of domestically, and missions when we're thinking internationally. I don't know that we need to use the terms that way. That's just often how I hear them used. But I want to talk about the word mission, because the word mission is an interesting word. It gets used in different contexts for many of us. But the word mission was invented in the 1500s by Jesuit priests who needed a word to explain the outward thrust of the Holy Spirit in their lives. They realized that as they were experiencing more of the Holy Spirit in their lives, it wasn't driving them to lock themselves in a room and isolate themselves with God, but the flow of the Holy Spirit and the thrust of the Holy Spirit in their lives was actually driving them outwards to make disciples of all nations and to serve the world and to create avenues for the gospel to go forward. And they wanted a word for that thrust, that feeling of thrust that they had. And they landed on the Latin word missio, which is the word that we get mission from. Now, corporations and the military and NASA and other people have adopted the word mission, and they use it kind of differently. But I just want to start off with the word mission belongs to the church. This is our word. We invented this, and it refers to the thrust of the Holy Spirit, the outward thrust of the Holy Spirit. I love this because a few chapters back we talked about the filling of the Holy Spirit. And if we receive the filling of the Holy Spirit, there will be an outward thrust, which will lead to this experience of being sent. And being sent is just the natural progression of a life of overflow. It's not this discipline that you have to force on yourself. This comes naturally. And I say this because, really practically, missions is not a program. Evangelism is not a church program. Missions is an impulse, and it is an instinct that comes from the life that has been filled with the Holy Spirit. It is not this outward program that we organize and structure with metrics for the life of a church. It's an impulse. It's an instinct. Missions is what happens when a life is filled with the Holy Spirit and there is an outward thrust. Program or no program, tracks or no tracks, they're going to express the Holy Spirit's work in their life, and they're going to find a way to do that. That's what mission is. It's not a program. It's not a formation, a structure. It's an impulse. It's an instinct that comes from the result of being filled with the Holy Spirit. So this is the relationship between Jesus' return and us being sent. It's that he will return as we make disciples of all nations. And so we have a responsibility here to facilitate the return of Jesus and to help participate in the Revelation 7 picture of all nations worshiping Jesus. And this is what it is to be sent. I just want to leave you with this. This is an instinct and an impulse, not a program. And I pray that as you experience the fullness of the Holy Spirit, it would overflow, and that the mission that you are on, that Jesus has given you, would be an instinct and an impulse and an overflow from your life.